It's a funny thing because it's a segment I often do on my show where I hypothetically give you the show. So, to have someone on the show who has a podcast where he makes the guest the host of the podcast just seems really on brand. Taylor Paulson. His name is Taylor Paulson.
And I guess I'm the host now.
You're the host now.
Am I the host of your show?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That's very spiritually connected with me now because I have been waiting to be a host since I started my own podcast.
Well, you give you the opportunity. I'll give you the opportunity to just if this was your show, how would you start it out, and what kind of questions would you ask? What kind of stuff has you curious?
Intro.
What's that?
I could do my actual intro.
This is yes. This is your chance to get your intro.
Okay.
Get your shit in, brother.
What kind of questions would I ask? Well, actually, the first thing I ask everybody who comes on my show is if they have anything they would like to talk about, because they're the host, and it really catches people off guard because they are not ready. When I prep them for the show and I say, "Hey, be ready," they're never ready. So sometimes you get this awkward silence between the two people, and it's what it is.
What I find it funny is there's a good majority of people that I interact with on a daily basis who've never listened to any podcasts, don't know anything about podcasts, and have never been guests on podcasts. So I imagine a good amount of the people that I'm talking to on the podcast haven't been on tons of podcasts. But now I'm here with you, and I know you've been on tons of podcasts. And a lot of the times I'll ask people who I know have been on lots of podcasts, what's something that you've never been asked on a podcast that you've always wanted to answer?
Well, I'll get you here. I haven't been on a lot of podcasts, but I've hosted a lot of podcasts.
Your own, but you didn't. You're gifting the other person the ability to be the host.
Yeah.
Have you not been asked a question that you've wanted to be asked?
And no, I haven't, because actually a lot of people don't take the opportunity to actually ask me questions. They think that, I don't know if they're just nervous to ask questions or what, but yeah, they don't ask me a lot of questions. Like sometimes I have to plug my own hobbies. They don't even ask me what I'm interested in. It hurts a little bit. Maybe that would be the one. It would be what most enlightens you in what you do. That's probably what I would ask.
Yeah, dude. What kind of stuff feeds your spirit? What's your ikigai? What gets you up in the morning?
Well, here's what I'd say. What gets me up in the morning is the ability to experience something new, which sounds so cliche, but that's because I have so many hobbies, and I think that's because I try to start a new hobby every single day. I swear it feels like it. So that definitely gets me moving.
Well, finding a new hobby every day seems like it's a hobby. So there's a double hobby there.
That's my only hobby, actually, is just finding stuff to do. But no, definitely like getting outside. That's what wakes me up in the day. I want to go do some activities outside, whether it's walking, riding bike, or hiking.
Stamp collecting.
Not
collecting the stamps, just thinking about how one day I'll start a stamp collection.
Just thinking about it.
just considering that it may or may not be best for me to have my own stamps.
Right. Yeah. I actually do have weird thoughts like that a lot. Like the other day I was thinking I should start making my own candles. I never did it. Just thought about it. It's amazing how that stuff works.
It made me think of Zoolander when he's like, Sting's a real hero of mine. The music that he makes, I don't listen to it. But like the fact that he makes it, I respect that.
Yeah. Exactly.
I really respect that.
That's me anytime I see anybody doing literally anything. I'm like, I respect that you're doing whatever that is.
What is the most respectable thing? Like what like your biggest role models, your biggest like archetypes for like who you like want to structure the type of life you want to have. What are the things? What are the common traits inside of those types of people?
That's a strange question, because my biggest inspirations in life are a lot of the artists I listen to since I'm a musician. And yet I look at how they live and I don't think I would actually want to live like that. But I would definitely like to acquire the talent that they have, because they are some talented people. So it's hard to top up talent with that lifestyle. So fair enough.
What kind of musician are you? What kind of do you play instruments? Do you mix music? What do you do in the music industry?
So I play music poorly, but I am a metal vocalist. So I do vocals.
Neat.
So I go and I stand in front of a crowd and I go to a bunch of people. So yes.
Sometimes I'll do a joke like that on stage where I'll say, who wants to see my best grown up? My best impression of a grown up. I go, oh yeah, okay.
Perfect. Yeah, that is.
I look up and I groan. You see, that's the word play on that.
Yeah,
for the listeners.
You know what they say about metal is that it's just a reason for adults to throw tantrums. So I mean,
well, the thing is, like, that's what the funny part is like when kids are kids, they can go outside and they can scream their heads off and they can go nuts. They can go on roller coasters, they can scream their heads off. But like adults don't really get a chance to do that very often. So like you're probably doing something most people should already be doing. Like people should be getting that aggression out.
More than likely. I mean, and when I was a teenager, I felt like I had aggression to get out for other reasons. So it fit in perfect when I was a teenager too.
Well, what was the aggression caused by?
Things that I don't talk about publicly, but being an angsty teenager.
Yeah, I mean that'll happen.
Yeah.
I'm full of angsty teenager leftovers that I got. that stuff swirling around back there where the bun is now.
Yeah. I don't have a bun right now, but occasionally I do. But yeah, so I mean, and a lot of my lyrics, because not only am I a vocalist, I'm also I'm a published author, but I also publish my lyrics as poetry. So, and a lot of that stuff is extremely dark, and a lot of that is basically I take what I really think, like what's happening in my life, and then I dramatize it, and then I add a little fantasy to it, and that becomes my lyrics and or poetry. A lot of dark stuff, though.
well, it's like loosely based around, like you characterize something or caricaturize certain things and like accentuate the of it.
Yeah.
and sort of make it into its own art, which is beauty.
Yeah. When I release a book like that and somebody reads it and then they go, I've had this question so many times from people who know me and they're like, are you all right, Taylor? Like, are you doing okay? And I'm like, you should have asked me that while I was writing the song.
Well, I think they want to think, all right, I'm just early enough. He's still alive. I'm going to ask him. I'm going to ask him so I can be the one who said I asked him if he was all right.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's what I do in the music industry anyways. That's a long form answer to that.
Did the pandemic accentuate that more? Did it lift that up when being stuck at home?
So here's what happened. Well, let's be honest. I didn't follow the rules very much in the pandemic. So I was out with a lot of people at like the house bars. But yeah, so it accentuated how much I was writing. But my band actually broke up right before the pandemic, so I was not performing or recording any music. So it actually, at the same time, I have a higher creativity because I'm writing about more stuff, but I have no way to express that musically. I mean, I scream in my car, but that's not the same as performing music.
Do you scream at your car along to music, or do you scream in your car as a road rager?
No, I scream in my car to practice vocals.
You just go in there like, use your turn signal!
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's what I do. But I swear I get the weirdest looks from people when I'm doing it. Like if I'm at a stoplight and I look to my right and somebody sees me, like scream my lungs out. And like I also have tinted windows, so they probably just see like weird motion more than likely.
well, we roll the window down and scream out the window at them and be
I
like,
have done that.
boogies. Flick the boogies at you, buddy.
I have done that. I did that to a bicyclist one time. I think I almost scared him off his bike, so I never done that again after that.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine a bicyclist on a podcast talking about how some metalhead screamed out the window at him. It's like, yeah, I don't forget about that.
Yeah. So, what kind of music do you enjoy?
Oh man, what I grew up listening to was mostly like alternative rap metal pop punk shit,
Okay.
you know. So I would say like steady cycle of Linkin Park and Incubus and
Okay.
well, I've still listened. I still listen all the time to Incubus and Linkin Park. I have to say, admittedly, still very much listen to a lot. But I would say I listen to a lot of Breaking Benjamin. That's like the most metal. It's not even very metal.
Breaking Benjamin doesn't have a single bad song. I will say that.
No, and I like the Used.
Oh yeah,
I liked them a lot.
That's some to cry to right there.
That's music. That's some emotional music. Say a lot of this stuff is stuff that like you could hear it after a breakup and be like, "This is about me right here. This applies to how I feel." Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so much so. Yeah,
I just listened to breakup music a lot as a kid, but like now I listen to more like stuff with positive vibes to it and more like planet conscious music.
Planet conscious. What does that mean
Like,
as far as music?
Well, yeah, I mean it's like kind of folky like spiritual stuff. I guess you'd say like stuff about like forgiving who you were and stop holding on to old shit and
Gotcha.
move forward and be better. That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've been listening to some of that too. So, metal is my favorite genre, but I listen to just about everything you could think of. So, my playlist will go from NF to Linkin Park to Infinite Annihilator to the Lumineers to so my playlist is all sorts all over the place.
Is it NF? Is that the House with Walls or something? That song?
I think he has a song called that. Yeah, he's a rapper.
Yeah,
he's Christian rapper actually, specifically. That's not why I like him, but that's one of the things about him.
You know that's a characteristic of certain musicians. Like you sometimes it'll change your opinion of them, but it's like you don't know if it really does a good thing or a bad thing. It's not. I used to like Skillet a lot. Like when Whispers in the Dark came out, I was like, oh, this is cool as hell. And then like I found out they were like a Christian band, and I was like, all right, I don't really like them as much anymore.
Yeah, I mean it can do that, but I feel like in the metal scene, Christian music has been like a staple because there's bands like August Burns Red and Fit for a King, who probably mean nothing to you, but they're both really solid bands even to this day. And
I've heard of them.
Yeah, and if you listen to them, you don't assume they're Christian. And then when you find out they're Christian, I mean, if you go to an August Burns Red concert, like I have several times, it's a little bit annoying because it's like in the middle of each song, there's a little bit of a preachiness going on. But then when the preaching's done, then we can all throw each other around like we like to do.
I remember going to a POD concert back in the day with my friends, and then being like, "Well, this is really preachy," and I'm like, "It's just listen to the music and shut up."
yeah.
Just enjoy the music and shut up.
Their name is just preachy in itself, but I mean, I guess most people just see it as POD, so they don't really put that.
No, well, they had their finger on the pulse of the podcast movement way before it ever started.
Yeah. With what? With the
because that's the name of their band, Pod, Pod, Pod.
Oh yeah, Pod. Oh, I got your joke. I almost did not get your joke. That almost went right over my head.
Well, sometimes that'll happen.
You threw me off because the lead vocalist of Silverstein has a podcast, and I thought that's what you were talking about, but that would be a different band. So
no, I don't think POD has a podcast, but they're missing out.
Yeah,
they should POD-cast, like it writes itself. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's just witness with some folks. Talk about the Lord and such.
Yeah. Well, and that's what Silverstein, his podcast, like it's all. I mean, because Silverstein's Christian, right? Yeah, pretty sure. And he just has lead singers on. He doesn't care if they're religious or not. So,
I think it's like I have a couple musicians that I really like who like have their own podcasts, and I was like, oh, I bet you I'd really like this podcast. And they listen to it, and it's like, so like that one time you like did it and like it, right? And like, and it was just like, there's just nothing like quality conversation going on with these musicians. Like, I mean, I'm sure they're having quality conversations, but I think kind of what you were saying to me earlier before we started going is just like this fear of walking into a cancel web. You know what I mean? Walking into, I think that like people who have any kind of public perception or public persona, they don't want to like say a thing that's an unpopular thing that might come up on Twitter in 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and especially since a lot of those people, I mean, if they have a podcast, they're probably in a decently well-known band. So like if something goes wrong on their podcast and they do get canceled, like they're forfeiting their career for something they were doing for fun, essentially. So yeah, you can see why they would be worried. You know,
very, 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 very scared.
Yeah. There's a very popular metal band. I mean, I mentioned them earlier, Annihilator. It's Infant Annihilator. A lot of people don't hear that part when yeah, and their music is disgusting. It's like it's deliberately written to be obnoxious and out there, and so you're supposed to like the music but not like the lyrics, you know? That's the whole idea.
Shit posting of their lyrics.
Yeah,
their lyrics are all shit posts.
I would like to see somebody try to cancel the lead vocalist of that band because he has to write these lyrics, and their lyrics are awful. I'm not going to say any of them right now, but if you just go Google any Infant Annihilator song, it's terrible. But it's all like it's all like over dramatized, like they're kind of like making comments about the church and the priests, and I'm sure you can see where that's going. So, yeah.
What a good segue to what my next question was going to be.
Oh wow! Okay.
What was that? The spiritual structure. Like, what kind of household did you grow up in? Did you have like both your parents? Did you have like brothers and sisters? Did they stay together? Did you go to church? How did that sort of house and church and the steeple and open the doors and the people stuff go for you?
Yeah, well, my family is a huge web because my dad and my biological mom got divorced when I was young. You know, my dad got remarried. So there's all this. And then as far as religion goes, like my stepmom was super religious. In fact, she tried to push religion on all of us kids. Like I grew up with my brothers and my sister for a little while. Like I said, it's a big web, but we're not going to go over all of it. So yeah, my stepmom was religious and tried to push it on all of us. But my dad, he's not religious at all. You know, I think he tried to find something to believe in religion, but he couldn't do it for himself. And then my biological mother, she's completely non-religious. She's spiritual, though. So she's all in touch with her spiritual side, but she doesn't want to follow any organized religion. So I had all three of those influences from my parent aspect coming into me, and I'm like, I don't know what to believe in myself. I'm getting religion pushed on me here, and I'm getting atheism pushed on me here, and I'm getting spirituality pushed on me here. What do I believe in myself? And it's really hard when you're at a young age to actually come up with what you believe in when you're getting all that.
So I got two kind of things that are a little bit related. So the entertainment business, being in entertainment, having your voice on a microphone, having your face on a camera, normally there's a look at me hole that needs to be filled by doing that. What would you say that damage is? What would you say your damage is that continues to have you try to fill this look at me hole?
I think not having a lot of supervision when I was a child. I was essentially able to do whatever I wanted because I had no supervision, but then got in trouble if I did do something that I wanted when they found out I did it. But so I think maybe that. I think I'm just constantly seeking attention. I think that's actually probably what it is. And then when I was screaming, I remember vividly when I started getting interested in making weird noises with my mouth for a band. My stepmom hated it. She forbid me from doing it. If she heard me even trying to practice, I was in trouble. And I think that only pushed me to do it more. So I guess
you can't draw lines like that for people, like anybody, and not just your kids, not, you know what I mean? Not just the people who like you have authority over. You can't do that to anybody and expect them to receive it. Like I've always said, like if you draw a line in the sand and say you got to be on this side with me or on that side, I'll be on the side of the person who didn't draw the line in the sand. That's the principle of it.
Yeah.
I've been saying this joke on stage, and I might stop doing it because it sometimes gets a good reaction and sometimes not so much. I say, I'm gonna throw you this frisbee. You're going to catch it, or we're not friends anymore. It's a new game I've come up with called Ultimatum Frisbee.
I don't know. That's all right. Not terrible. You can workshop that to be a little bit.
Yeah.
Get it into the right joke, you know.
I put it in the right format, I suppose.
Yeah.
Make it work. Like, what's funny is like it's like it always kind of really depends on the kind of people who I'm performing for. So it's that read the room sort of thing, where it's like, okay, well, these people are already laughing at people doing jokes that are this way. So if I do jokes that are that way, it might not be as good for the room as maybe I'm creating the narrative in my head before I've ever even showed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can be kind of bad though, huh?
Well, I think what's tough is, and I think it's always going to exist no matter where I am or whatever I'm doing. It's just like people have made up their mind about what they want to think and how they want to react to anything I do the second they see me or the second they hear me speak or the second they like it's just instinct. Everybody's going to do it. You know, I just got to make sure I'm giving them something different than what they expected. Or if they, you know, if the way I look at it, like if I'm on a wrestling show, right, I always look at the card that says like what other matches there are. And I'll look at the matches that are before me. And if there's matches after me, I'll see what they are. And I'll find out what I can do to stand out and be different than these matches or those matches. Say like, okay, they're going to get something like this. They're going to get something like this. I'm going to give them something different that isn't like that or like this, but it will scratch those itches that they need scratched.
Okay. Yeah.
Me being a maniacal manipulator. I gotta rub my hands together like a villain and twist my mustache.
Should I do the same?
If you can get a little villain twirl in.
Yeah. There we go. I did it. Yeah, I guess when it comes to entertainment or anything, and you probably know more than I do, but I feel like just doing what you do, you know, like don't ever look at what anybody else is doing and try to cater it towards I should do something different or I should do something the same. Literally just do whatever you want to do so that way it comes off organically and generic, or not generic, organically.
You do the cheapest version of whatever it is you're gonna do. Just take whatever you were gonna do, cheapen it down by a few notches.
Well, yeah, then you can make profits, you know. Everybody knows the entertainment business is only about money, nothing else.
Right.
So
it's for most people who are in it. I'm going to speak from experience. It's a pay to play business. It's very pay to play being in the entertainment business. It's very much like, all right, well, the dues are never paid in full, and you got to keep on kind of shaking through this portion of it to get to the next level, like the rockets shedding off the side doesn't happen for a very long time.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason that I sell my lyrics as poetry, because I just know that metal music doesn't make any money, and I'm never going to make a dime in that, especially making what I want to make. So might as well monetize it somewhere else.
Perfect. Yeah. So first impressions off of getting to know this guy, this Corey Castle guy. Questions that pop into your head, ideas, perceptions that you might already have. What's your thoughts?
Ideas and perceptions I already have. Yeah, that's a weird thing to ask somebody.
Well,
you do.
I mean, I'm stealing your gimmick, bro.
Which is genius, by the way. I love it.
It's like I've been stealing it all these years, and I didn't even know. But it's just that you're going to be way more familiar with it than everybody else who gets to hear me steal your gimmick.
But here's the thing: is that first of all, my perceptions of you is you're goofy and you're funny and charismatic. But to go back to what you're saying about stealing my gimmick, you almost are, but you're not. Because you're asking too many questions.
Okay.
If you want to steal my gimmick, it goes like, I ask like a half a question, but I leave it open-ended. And then I get that person talking. And then when they say something, then I just say something that relates to me about it. And then they just keep talking and they don't even realize it. I think that's the beauty of that podcast. But
playing tricks on your guests. Hey, come be a guest on my show so that I can kind of control the narrative to make you look like you're a selfish butthole.
Oh, no. We make everybody look exciting and entertaining on our podcast.
Oh, yeah. Even the selfish buttholes.
Yeah, even them. They have some type of story or interest that would come out in a good way.
Everybody's voice and everybody's story has value, in my opinion, as well, because it's like, dude, nobody knows what it's like to be you. No one's lived your life. No one's walked in your shoes and knows what it's like to have been the type of person who's done this or seen that or had this kind of thing happen to me or survived this kind of thing. And I always say, like, no matter if somebody's right or wrong or whatever, people just want to be heard. People want space held for them and want to feel heard and seen and feel like they're worthy of love.
Yeah.
Taylor, you are worthy of love, my sir.
Oh, wow. Thank you. I feel so special now. Yeah. And I mean, it's not to say that I just want to agree with everything everybody says. That's not what I'm saying either. But I do want to I actually like to hear people I disagree with. Because then I'm like, hey, I can actually tactfully have this conversation and potentially change their mind on that topic.
What's the biggest disagreement that you've had on your show since you've started it? How many episodes are you in now at this point?
Shit, I don't even know.
you're like in the 30s or 40s or something?
I think we just uploaded episode 40, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. The technically it's 41. We talk about it quite often. It's like the hidden episode because we recorded an episode, but I messed up. It was the first episode ever, and I messed up my mic, so it was picking up nothing that I was saying, only the other person. And so, yeah, so I deleted that one. But I didn't delete it. I still have it, but it's like maybe one day I'll release some weird edit of it.
Would you just be like, and just keep pausing it and be like, at this point, I asked them this, and then play the clip of what they said, and right here is what I just asked them. So it's void of being any kind of conversation. It's more like it's like a just commentary on a conversation that's one-sided.
Yeah, but the biggest disagreement I've had, I mean, I guess the biggest disagreement I had ended up with me changing my mind, which is weird to me, but
wow.
And it was about, which we don't talk about politics on my podcast almost ever, but we ended up talking about it. We just touched on the political issue of the wage gap between men and women. And I ended up being proven wrong, kind of. I mean, we didn't really stick on the topic and nobody was trying to prove anything to anybody else. But in the end, I think I changed my mind a little bit on I changed my mind about the information I had, and I went and searched some more information. So I think that might be it, actually. I just have a cat. Sorry.
So did you think that did you have some chauvinistic ways that got changed? I'm kidding. You don't have to. You're like, these broads come out here. They want more money. Like,
exactly what my thought was, and I was like, why aren't you just in the kitchen?
Most trolly, most like shit posty things to say.
No, definitely not. But I definitely, you could call it that if you want. But I just had some information. I didn't have all the information that I needed to actually make the opinion I had on it. So that was all.
I had a. I'm not going to say who the guest was, but I had a conversation once where that same kind of stuff came up about the wage gap, and it wasn't an argument. It wasn't a disagreement. It was just that the guest had said a bunch of stuff about like being mad about the wage gap, and it was, I think it was right like mid pandemic, mid lockdown or something, and then she messaged me and was like, can we just I was going to ask you to cut that part out, but can we just do the whole thing all over again? So we just did the whole episode all over again. It's absolutely not a problem.
Yeah, I don't have a specific rule to not talk about politics, but I do try to avoid them just because people get that on every other podcast. Like, I don't want to get hung up too much on them. You know, I want to hear about actual human things, which I know politics is technically human, but it's like some of us make our whole personality politics. It's ridiculous.
I just started thinking about an Eminem song from like the first album, the Slim Shady LP. The song was like, I don't know why this world keeps turning round and round. Do you know this song?
Probably not. I don't know. I don't listen to any of them.
But it's like what the politics thing. It is just this world keeps turning round and round. It's like there's gonna be fights about politics while there's people. Like, there has been fights about politics since the start, and there will be fights about politics and division, a ridiculous amount of division that should not exist. I mean, there's people who didn't talk to their kids because they voted for Abraham Lincoln. Like, it's the same stuff, just repeats itself over and over and over again, and it's not worth us not having a genuine connection over some people who control some shit that we're never going to have any even like iota of control over. And the clickbait, like, I'd say it's outrage bait. It's like, oh, here's what the media wants you to know so that you can feel this way about that, so that you'll click more stuff and you'll see our ads.
Yep.
It's not worth us losing our friendships, or it's not worth us not just losing our friendships and the people we love. It's not worth us closing ourselves off to finding new people who we can be friends with.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree with you on everything you just said there. So, especially about there being too much division, they got to fucking stop with that game.
No,
Video game division.
no. Long division.
Yeah. We need that Common Core, whatever it is.
We need to break it into fractions. We need to figure it all out. We got to show our work.
So Corey, let me flip it on you.
Do it.
It's my podcast now.
Do it. Do it.
What are some of your hobbies that you don't make money from?
I don't make money from most of my hobbies.
Well, there we go. So what's your favorite one?
So my favorite one is maybe this.
Okay.
My favorite one is having this show. I host another show with my girlfriend. We're doing episodes like every couple weeks. We'll put out a new episode. It's called Shamecast, where we play voicemail from listeners. We set up a voicemail for people to call in and leave us messages, anonymous messages, and they ask us advice or anything, and we'll just kind of talk about it on the show. And it's an acronym for self-help and managing emotions, shame. And
cool.
That's a fun one I've been doing. I'd say I'm wrestling. I mean, it's not that I don't get paid, but I'm not like swimming in it. You know?
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, as soon as you start getting paid for your hobbies, while they still could be a hobby you love, I think that still considers a professional career.
Well, I mean, it's definitely not what pays my bills. It's not, it's not.
But if you're making money, you're now a professional at whatever you're doing.
I like to say that I like to say that being an independent professional wrestler is like being in a cover band, except for you don't get the respect from people. Like, what a talented musician! What a talented musician you are! And then they go, oh, fake wrestling? That doesn't hurt, right? Oh yeah, tell it to my jaw that I can't open all the way, or my nose that's been broken 13 times. Like, it's just ignorant. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I would say if I had advice to give to young people who want to get into wrestling, I would say learn how to play guitar. You'll probably make more money.
Yeah. I like how you insinuated though that cover bands get respect. I mean, they might get money, but I don't think they get respect. A lot of us hate cover bands out here. Not very often am I going to a cover band show and be like, that was great.
but I'm saying the respect that they get from like the common public of being talented people, what I do is not considered a talent to somebody who wouldn't know. People would just be like, oh, it's all fake, right? Like that's the immediate question you get from anybody.
Well, let me ask you this then: is it the WWE now?
Yeah.
Do those top dogs in the WWE, do they get recognized as having talent?
Oh, I bet. I bet by the fans of wrestling, but I'd say like the majority of people aren't wrestling fans at all. Like I would say like there's a huge amount of wrestling fans, but I don't think the majority of people are wrestling fans, and they're just kind of like robbing themselves of something cool in their life.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I feel like a good chunk of that I was going to say is because a lot of people just look at anybody who can play instruments and they're like, they're talented immediately. It's like the one true, like you could do anything else. Like I said, I'm a published author. Only the people who know me actually care about that and think I'm talented about it. But if you can play an instrument, hell, I'm even a musician in a genre where I get told that my music is the least talented because all I'm doing is screaming. All I'm doing is screaming. Yep.
That's all you're doing.
No, it's not like you have to do it properly so you don't hurt yourself and make it sound good. Nope. So I get where you're coming from for sure.
Yeah. What has your experience been like when it comes to loss, like losing friends or family or loved ones?
Mm-hmm. Well, I have a depressing fun story. Like 3 years ago at this point, my stepbrother, who I was extremely close with, like I've lived with him my whole life, he even moved in with me when I owned a home, and I didn't live with my parents anymore and all that. And he passed away. And when he did, it took me on this weird journey where I think I didn't completely change who I was as a person, but I changed a lot of the ways I was treating life and treating other people in life. And so before that, I had family members die, and I realized when I was coming to like this, when I found myself, I basically found my soul. I came to this realization that like I never gave a fuck about my family members dying before. But then when the closest one to me died and I finally had to figure out who I was, then I realized I should have cared about them more, and I should have cared about it when they died. But so it's a weird realization to have when you lose that one person that's super close to you.
Do you think that he is somewhere? Do you believe that? Where do you think your stepbrother is now?
So I do not have any religious or spiritual beliefs. So I believe that, his ashes are where we put them. So in a very beautiful spot. So that is it. I mean, he's always like, I don't know if I guess that's like in touch with spirituality, because I feel like he's always going to be with me because I have memories of him, which is what what I believe keeps people alive.
Yeah, dude, I
to remember him by. So
I think I can relate and agree pretty hard with that, because I don't like, I wouldn't say that I'm very religious, and I guess I can say I'm pretty spiritual, but when it comes to life ending, I don't necessarily know what to think about that, because like I've lost some people, and I don't feel like they're here. Like I don't feel their presence or anything. But like when I think about how much important things those people taught me, and I think about the lessons that I got from those people, I feel like that's them continuing to live on. But
yep.
I'm one of those. I gave myself this phrase, spiritual nihilist. That's kind of me, where it's like, oh yeah, like, oh, it's all great and fancy and fun and free and stuff, but like it doesn't matter. Ultimately, I'm a borrow this phrase that I heard Aubrey Marcus say. He's probably heard it from somewhere else, but he said, "We're all sand castles that the tide is coming for."
Okay. Huh. Yeah. That's a thought. Let me get this cat off me for a real second. Sorry about that.
Oh, does that cat has wings?
Yeah, it's a bat cat.
So you weren't feeding it Red Bull?
No, I think that they retracted that from their marketing because somebody sued them.
Oh yeah, they don't do that anymore.
No, I don't think so. I could be totally wrong on that. I could just be speaking on my ass right now. I don't even know. But
it's maybe worth a Google.
Yeah. Somebody else can Google that though.
Somebody else
Google. Believe it's real.
That's worth a Google. Somebody else do it.
Yeah. Totally threw us off track though with what we were talking about. Oh yeah. I kind of have a similar thought process that you do. Would you call yourself a spiritual nihilist or something? Is that what you said? Is that the wording you used?
I did say that.
Yeah. I'm kind of the same way because I'm like, especially now, I don't know about before, but when I went on that little soul searching journey that I said I did, I got into backpacking and I got way more connected to the world and like my relatives and my close relationships. And a piece of me is like, oh man, life is beautiful. And this is going to be way different than what you said, but I feel like I connected with you for some reason. Life is beautiful. And I love these people now. And like, I have a whole newfound respect for these people and the world. And I love everything it has to offer. And I love my life. But then at the same time, I'm like, I could die right now. I don't care. So I don't know. It's so strange.
So, did you get a relationship with any psychedelics?
Earlier on in my life, actually, before any of that stuff happened. So actually, all of my soul searching happened with no drugs, no alcohol, nothing like that. So, but before I did, actually, I tell it on my podcast like a few times. I've told the story about how DMT helped me lose weight. So,
how did you consume it?
For that time, I smoked it. Yeah.
Is it like, because I know that like some people I know can get like DMT vapes.
Yep, you could vape it. You can also, there's an edible version.
All right.
So I've done it twice, and I will probably never do it again in my life. So,
well, I mean, it's like 15 minutes or something.
Yep, lasts for 15 minutes, roughly. I don't think that's exactly timed, but
I haven't experienced DMT itself, but I'd say ayahuasca has DMT in it, and I've done that. I've
pretty
done
close to the same thing.
A lot.
What was your experience like on that?
Life-changing, man. It's very, very humbling. It's very. I think that my empathy meter has grown a ton since then, and my ability to put myself in understanding stuff, like when I see the things I say, or I hear the things I say, I see them and I hear them from the other perspective. So I would hear things dude, this is the silliest example. I had posted on Facebook like yesterday or the day before that like it just hit like the 20th anniversary of my first professional wrestling match as Corey Castle. Like that just hit the anniversary of that, the 20-year anniversary a couple days ago. And somebody commented, I remember you back then. We worked together at this arcade. I remember you body slammed me. and I read that wrong. I read you body shamed me. I don't know why I read it wrong, but I read that I had body shamed this person. And I was like, I responded right away, and I was like, I wouldn't have even been friends with me back then. Like I sucked. Like if I were to look back, like we recently watched back like these old videos that were my grandmother's. My mom had them put digitally, and we watched them at like Easter or something when the whole family was up. And I was like, I was watching the video and I felt like I was body shaming myself, because like the whole time, like it was like we were at the shore, like down the shore, and I had my shirt off and I was like, yeah, I was like, I was being real Mike the situation, pre Mike the situation. And we were down in the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
So I responded to the thing, and it was like, oh yeah, it wasn't a big slam. And I was like, oh, he said slam, not shame. Never mind. Never mind. It's just that, but for sure, like I felt like when I was younger, dude, I used to throw around fat all the time. I would call people fat all the time. Like I would make fun of fat people. Like that was awful. Like I wouldn't have been friends with me. Like I had an overweight sister, and she would be like, and she said to me one day, if you weren't my brother, we wouldn't be friends. And it stuck with me, and it has continued to stick with me. And I'm like, I'm not conscious enough of the type of stuff I'm saying, the jokes that I'm making, because these words have meaning. And you know, sometimes you say something, and the second you say it, you never think about it again. But the second somebody hears it, they'll never stop thinking about it. And I had to become more conscious of what I'm saying and the impact that it'll hold. Because for sure, I want people to walk away from interactions with me and feel like they've gained something. and have that not be a mistrust of me or or a suspicion that I'll hurt them.
Hmm. Based off of what you just said, don't go listen to the Halloween special we just recorded. Because there is a very bad joke about fat people at the end of that joke. So, or at the end of that podcast. But I feel like there's a weird part of me because I don't actually, I mean, I don't think most people intend harm when they make fun of somebody for something. Or like they say something just in general that could upset somebody else. But for me, it's like, I used to be extremely big, and I lost all that weight. And a part of me loved losing that weight. I feel better now, and I always try to help people do the same. But at the same time, I still make jokes about just like I did when I was younger. Like I was big, I was fat, and I made those jokes about myself. I still do to this day. Like, so I don't know. I agree with what you're saying. I guess I don't follow the same practice though.
I would hope that, like, I look at people who have been my inspirations for a bunch of things, and I'd hope that somebody would stumble across me and what I do and what I say and what I've survived and what I live through and the type of family I come from. All these factors, they measure those all up and go, that's somebody to look up to. That's somebody to be inspired by. I think about that, and I think about the type of person I should have had in my life. Like a couple years ago, this wrestler was on a podcast and he said something about another woman in the wrestling business that was like, "Hey, I just wanted to go up and I don't even want to say this. I just wanted to go up and rape her right there." That was like the thing he said on the pod. Like, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'll never look at that guy the same." Who were the type of individuals, who were the type of men in his life that he was around that told him it was okay to talk like this about people? Who like normalized that being okay to him? And I just went back into my own self and was like, I just want to make sure I'm the type of person who if a person like that was around me and tried to make that type of joke, that I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, you don't talk about people like that. You don't make those kind of jokes. That's gross. And I would hope that this version of me kind of makes up for the type of version of me that I was when I was younger, and times were different, and I used to get away with saying a lot of messed up stuff.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, and you were like you were just saying, you hope that the new you makes up for some of that. Don't I don't want you to take this the wrong way either, but don't you think that there could be a good combination of both of those people? Because obviously your character is based off of who you were. Like what you went through makes who you are. Your entire life up to this point is why you are who you are. So wouldn't there be a good combination between?
Oh yeah, there's a middle ground in that. Yeah, there has to be
the line. Yeah,
because I'm also a comic, so I want to say what's funny, and sometimes what's funny isn't what's gonna be the most bubble wrapped thing. You know what I mean? The most kid gloves thing. Sometimes I'll say stuff that'll make people go like, "Oh, should he have made that joke?" But I'm not. It's not coming from a place of like. It's not coming from a place of like, I'm a mean bully and here's me poking a stick at you. It's me going like, here's an observation with wordplay in it.
Gotcha. Yep. I agree with that. Totally. Well, one of my favorite comedians, I'm not going to say he's my favorite, but one of my favorite is Doug Stanhope. So, his jokes are some of the most walking the line, like you shouldn't be saying that types of jokes. So, but I think the way he does it is just so so funny.
When I first started doing this podcast, I'm in my 5th or 6th year at this point. I started in early 2017, and I had sent out tons of emails. I found all these people's contact information. I sent tons of emails out, and one of them went to Doug Stanhope, and I put my phone number in it, and I explained like what the whole idea of what the podcast was, and he called me on New Year's Day. I had like a 45-minute conversation with Doug Stanhope on New Year's Day.
That's like my dream.
He was drunk as shit.
Of course. Yep.
Of course. And he was like, "Yeah, bro, I'm probably not going to do your podcast, but I just thought it'd be cool to talk to you for a minute." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, that means something. I'll take it."
That's amazing. You could have recorded the 45-minute conversation.
Because at that point, I didn't have StreamYard. I didn't have Skype or Zoom or anything. None of that stuff. 2017. I mean, I did have that. I had it for a couple guests, but I guess I don't know. It just didn't seem like an option. He was like, "Oh, I'll maybe hit me up next time I'm coming to Philly, but I don't know if that's going to be for a long time."
Yeah.
But he's like, I think he said something to me about coming to Bisbee. Like, where's he live?
I have no idea.
I forget where. Bisbee, Arizona.
I'm not that big of a fan.
I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be there anytime soon. But
yeah, that's crazy. I would love to just talk to him. That'd be a wild conversation to have.
Because he was, but the thing was, he was calling me because I had the same name as some guy that he knew back in the 70s. And he said that the joke was, he was asking me if I was related to this guy. And he was like, I always think of this guy. When I think about, because he said something like the guy worked as intake clerk at an emergency room or something. And, you know, like when you have to like ask all the questions and jot everything down, he said this prostitute came in and he had to ask her all these questions. And he asked her something about having unprotected sex or something recently. And the prostitute responded, "I got a question for you, motherfucker. How about fuck you?" And that was the reason he decided to call me, just to tell me that story.
Perfect.
Thanks for the heads up. Thanks for the call.
So you are a comic, but
yeah.
So let me ask you this: when something like, and look, I turned it into my podcast. I'm asking you questions now.
Please do that.
When someone like, let's say, Ricky Gervais, his last special comes out, and there's a big controversy around it, how do you interact with that?
I take it for art. I take it for comedy. I can separate the why I'm consuming this and what it's packaged as. If Ricky Gervais went to like just for example, like let's say Ricky Gervais went to a TED Talk and he had all this stuff and none of it was funny and he just was like bashing trans people, I would have no interest in that at all. But it's a comedy special about jokes, about comedy, like done by an artist. Like it's like there's context to it all. None of it comes from a gross, hateful place. But sometimes some people are so like ready to take things in such a hateful way, and be offended, and that's sad. I mean, the world is sad enough for these people who get offended all the time. To then just be on the lookout for stuff to make them sad is very sad to me.
Yeah.
Makes me sad.
See, and I think it's crazy because I don't know if people forget that comedy is is a performance. It's entertainment. I don't know if people forget that because, for instance, I have a girl on my Facebook, and she will put up like when the Ricky Gervais thing happened. She put up, we don't stand for Ricky Gervais and everything he's saying. The message that was going around the time. But then if you know who she is as a person, she listens to the band I was talking about, I.M.A.P. Annihilator, and they're saying way more egregious shit than he is, but because they're performing it in a musical sense, it's better. And that's what always gets me confused when I see stuff like that, like weird contradictions where you're kind of picking and choosing what platform people get to get canceled on.
Well, yeah, I think Bill Burr brought it up, and he's like, he's like, you could see it in the movie. You could see Brad Pitt beat the shit out of this lady to death. Brad Pitt beat the shit out of this lady until she died from it. And that's not something that upsets you as much as me telling jokes. Like,
yeah.
Well, you're like, oh, what a piece of art that is. This is a piece of art too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why. It's weirdly, I think it's probably because comedians are talking. So then people think they're getting communicated to instead of actually just performed for.
Well,
that's the disconnect.
It's a rhetorical conversation with no one, you know what I mean? It's like I'm just having a one-way conversation with a bunch of people who are sitting around listening. So I think the perception of it, here's a spotlight on me, I'm important. I think that's what these people think I think of myself.
Maybe. Yeah.
Not me specifically, but I'm just saying as a comedian.
I've always wanted to do like open mic or something.
Is something stopping you?
Well, I mean, partially the days that it's on, I'm always working, but in our area. But that's not really the reason. I think that I don't, even if I have roughly 15 minutes of material, which would actually go down to 5 minutes realistically. And I feel like I need to just make it more tactful because my comedy is so biting. I think I'm just going to get booed off stage probably. So like I'm not, okay, this is going to sound weird. I'm bisexual, so I'm part of the LGBTQ community, but I'm not really part of the community because I don't really follow along with all that. So, but a lot of my jokes are about, about being gay because it's part of my personality, not fully gay, but it's part of my personality. And so I feel like I have like some type of pass on making jokes about it because I'm a part of it, but I don't know.
Dude, we fully relate on that level. I grew up I was the only straight person in my house growing up. So I'm very, very sensitive and very like, I can easily be like, that guy's attractive. That, you know what I mean? Like I'm fully comfortable with my own sexuality to be able to say like, oh, I like that, or I don't like that, or like, so my friends for most of my life have said that I'm like 75% gay. Like anything that has to do with like a penis, I don't want it near. I don't want your penis on me. I don't want your beard on me. Like, but like I could say like a dude's hot, sure. Like, oh, that's a nice body. Like I've been in the pro wrestling business for 20 plus years at this point, and we work on our bodies. That's part of it. Like, I've been in gyms and in locker rooms for years, and I'm still not comfortable with my own body. Like, if when it comes to when it comes to those topics in comedy, we could make something work, bro. I'll help you out. I'll for sure help you out with writing something. We come up with something together.
Oh yeah, I'll do a bit right now.
What's that?
I got a really good bit. I say that with some real unsurety with it, but
expectations.
The way I'm going to go into the middle, but the way that my jokes are written, I have a joke about a really bad joke about a pedophile, and that would lead into this next part, which is pedophiles keep trying to be part of the LGBTQ community, and they're calling themselves MAPs. But I suggest you take that map and drive yourself off a cliff.
What does MAP stand for?
Minor attracted person. I should actually probably add that in there. I should probably add it in there because that would make the joke a lot clearer. Derp.
I mean, that can change up a lot of things. Like I didn't know that. So having that be a part of your act can kind of inform some folks. Like
yeah.
The LGBTQ and like there is sometimes a plus there.
Mm-hmm.
LGBTQ plus, and that plus does not mean MAPs.
Yeah,
not you MAPs. Not you MAPs. You're not welcome. We're talking about inclusion, but not you.
Yeah, we go through all the letters of the alphabet until we get to M. We're gonna stop there. But yeah, so that's my little bit there about that.
Did you ever hear the old joke? The spell I.M.A.P. and then say ness.
Oh, yeah, I probably heard that once or twice. I only heard the I-Cup version of that.
Oh, well, now you've heard the I.M.P.ness. I.M.A.P.ness.
I was going to leave it for the audience to figure out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Let's
cut that part out.
Yeah, cut that. Edit that. Oh, God. But yeah, so I fantasize sometimes about being a comedian. I think that's what's funny is I hear a lot of comedians say how they want to be rock stars. And then I hear rock stars saying they want to be comedians. And all I really hear is people who do have a talent in one thing want to have a talent in another thing.
Well, it's grass is always greener. I have a bit that I've been doing, and I always say, like, I'll use it as an open. I'm saying, can we all kind of agree that we're gonna like try to stop comparing ourselves to other people as much? Like if you see somebody and you're like, they got a really nice car, they got a hot girlfriend, they got a really nice house, that person must have everything figured out. It's like, but the way I look at it is like, birds, some of them, like, some of them still get hit by cars. They got the entire sky. Not everybody's got it all figured out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I relate to that directly, actually. I was at one point a person who had a nice house, a nice car, a wife, everything like that. But I didn't have it all figured out and, sold that house. We got divorced, didn't have it all figured out. Think I got it figured out now, though. Yeah, right.
When what sort of frequency were you living in at that time? Like what was the falling apart? What caused that?
It's a great thing to speculate on because nobody could really actually answer that question. It wasn't like we were fighting or yelling at each other. And you're talking about me getting divorced, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're asking about? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't fighting. We weren't arguing. We didn't even have particularly a bad relationship. I think that we were together since we were young. There was that. We had 2 family members die the whole time we were together, which can put a strain on things. And probably just that. And then I think that a part of me, it's not that I wasn't happy because I've never been super unhappy in my life, but I think there was a part of me that was like not fulfilled. I was always chasing something more, I guess, and I don't feel like I'm doing that anymore. Like, of course, I'm always looking for a new hobby to do, but I'm not chasing to get. I need to get up here. I need to get this. I need to get this. I'm more so now. I just kind of am living, whereas before I was chasing for something. And once I had a really good life, I was like, what am I still chasing? So, and I think that was for both of us. So.
Well, I'm kind of seeing it like when people are together from a very young age and like that's the only experience you have in a relationship, the only experience you have with like complex emotions, it can it can feel like you're trapped or something. I can relate to that. Like and this is probably me being a jerk again, but I think back at like and I'm very sorry for this. If you're listening to this, who the parties that I'm talking about, and I won't say the names, but a bunch of years ago, a long time ago. I'm old, so a long time ago when I was young. Uh, one of my friends, one of my really close female friends, came up to me and told me that her boyfriend wanted to propose to her, or her boyfriend had proposed to her and wanted to get married. And I was like, all right. I mean, like he's a great guy, but were you his first? And she was like, yeah. I'm like, but he wasn't yours. She was like, yeah. And I was like, I couldn't imagine marrying the first person I was ever with. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't. I mean, especially having known that they had been with a few other people before me. Like, but like that is only because of like I had at that point experienced other things, and seen that like the first person I was with kind of sucked. Like how are you gonna know that who you're with doesn't suck if you haven't been with anybody but that person? And I think after that she never talked to me again. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you probably did offend, but you're probably spitting some truth too at the same time. So
Well, I mean, they're still very happily married, and I was at the wedding, so she didn't not talk to me ever again, but like she didn't make an effort to talk to me ever
Mm,
again.
yeah. Hey, I have to apologize right now. This whole time, I had my condenser mic turned up and there was background noise. Oh,
Oh,
that was what I was hearing.
oh, oh, yuck! No, I didn't notice. I didn't notice it at all.
well, well, listen, I think I'm too critical when I listen back to like my own podcast or other people's podcasts because I like if I hear any background noise, I'm like, stop it.
So the I'm just gonna cut just a couple more things, and then I'll send you off into the sunset with a hot dog and a handshake. Uh, one big thing for me with me starting this show, I would say the it was like right when I had first started the show, my mother had just saved these audio files onto a CD that were voicemails left to her from her best friend and her mother who had passed. And she said to me, "You know how like when certain people die, you know, like when people die, you forget what their voice sounds like, that kind of thing." And I was like, "Huh, I hadn't thought about it that way." But I don't want that. You know what I mean? I would like for when I'm gone, you go back and listen from when I'm 33 to however old I am when I die, because I plan on doing this for the rest of my life. So it is important to me to have things set on the record because this shit is kind of outliving us. You know, this shit's going to be around after we're gone. I want to say on the record, this has been awesome, and I'm really optimistic about what our friendship is going to grow into. This is our first conversation for anyone who doesn't know it, and I'm really optimistic, and I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful that you were willing to spend the currency of your effort and your time on hanging out with me.
Oh yes, well thank you. I've enjoyed it too. So it's not like I actually spent any currency. This is just as good for me as it is for you. So as
Well,
far as friendship and communication, I mean, not
yes.
plugging my podcast.
Oh, you didn't plug it. You didn't plug it once. You said shame. I'm gonna be full of shameless plugs for my podcast.
It's been on the screen the whole time,
Yeah.
and I've been asking you questions the whole time. It's like,
So with that being said, I want to give you the opportunity at this point to ask me anything or say anything to me in what is right now our longest conversation that we've ever had. The first longest conversation that we've ever had.
I already asked you a bunch of questions because I have a habit of doing that. So that's it. I actually do want to say something to you. You, and I hope you don't take offense to this. You look like an older version of me. I should have worn my trader's shirt because it looks the same too.
Well, that's cool. Isn't that neat?
That's wild. I've been thinking that this whole time. That's the future.
Well, I'm you in the future. How often do you get the opportunity to have a conversation, a full-blown, deep-ass conversation with the future version of you?
Yeah, and I got to say, I still look pretty good. So
yeah, well, thank you. Thank you, one, and two, I'm proud of you. Good for you.
Wow, let's give ourselves a round of applause. Oh, yeah.
So, the other segment that I like to do on every show, as we start wrapping it up, is I call it audio time travel. Since we were talking about the future just now, I would like to say this audio 20 years from now, in 2042, is discovered by somebody who cares a lot about you and wants to hear some just real deep messages about ways to be a better version of themselves, time stamped in 2022. This is a little time capsule, audio time travel. In the next 2-3 minutes, you're speaking directly to your loved ones in the future. What do you say?
2 to 3 minutes? That's so long. I don't speak that much. No. What do I say? I say you need to find more respect for yourself. That way you will inherently respect other people. Also, being more open-minded will only ever further your progression as a human, whether it's in your career or in your regular personal life. It will always progress you if you're open-minded about everything and anything. Even if you don't accept or believe that, or you don't change your mind about it when you are open-minded, at least when you're open-minded, you will hear something out or see something further. Continue to try to follow that little path and just see where it goes. And I would also tell everybody to be outside more often and respect the world that you live in, because without it, you literally don't have a place to live. And I don't have 2 to 3 minutes of things to say. That would be what I would say right there.
Yeah. no matter how much minutes you want to use. That's beautiful.
And I would also say they found this. How far in the future did they find this?
20 years into the future.
Okay. You guys make sure that my car is still doing good and is still in good shape.
Check in on me. Make sure I got a decent car. Tell me how it's going.
Well, I just want my car to be pristine in time from when I die. No, that's obviously a joke.
No, man, I'm fully anticipating being around. I'm fully anticipating you being around. I say that because, what if you stumble across this in 20 years? What if you're the person who loves you that stumbles across this and you want to hear that message? That's that could be just as powerful. When it comes to you mentioning respecting yourself, I'll go back to just a few minutes ago where you talk about how you still make jokes about you being overweight, and I get you're joking, but it could in your subconscious mind drink in as disrespect.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
So, if it helps you to decide, to respect yourself a little bit more, I'm always gonna promote being kinder to yourself, because forgiveness is way more important than the toxic yuck shit that you carry around of like self-hatred, because like for sure I'm there sometimes, but I have to back up and be like, who am I and what am I promoting if I'm contradicting that in my actions?
Yeah. There's a song by Dean Lewis called Half a Man. And I live by that song because it says, and it's more of a romance song, but it could be catered to any other part of your life. It says, how am I supposed to love you if I don't love who I am? And I think that speaks like light years.
I'm a quote RuPaul when she says, how you gonna love, if you don't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else?
Same thing.
Same thing. RuPaul was in that band. She helped them write that song.
Yeah, probably. But it's a good message. It's a good message to live by for sure.
The way we wrap it up every week is I'll normally what I'll do is I'll say, hypothetically, I've gifted you this show. So from now on, the show is Evolving with Taylor. In a very Jerry Springer's final thought type of way, all the best takeaways and the advice that would help somebody evolve to a better version of themselves tomorrow than they were today. What would you say? Wrap it up in a little pretty bow.
I think we just covered that in the last little segment we did. They're kind of the same.
Well, we can get redundant on it. Yeah, I guess. But I think it's more about what the takeaways from the full talk have been. Let alone like other than just messages directly to future self and future friends.
Well, let me crush your segment and say some stuff that I want to get your take and see if you agree with from this conversation. So I feel like from this conversation, you could definitely take away that we both think that, evolving as a person and loving yourself, super important, and making sure that we care about the people around us are super important, while at the same time, not getting too attached to things to where they're bringing you down. That's kind of what I got out of this conversation, as well as a lot of comedy.
Yeah, I think I've gotten myself like really in the past and got myself real like wrapped in on one thing and then like didn't let myself ever like experience anything. Like it's like when I was younger and I was changing most of my name. My real name's James. So that was my given name. But when I started being Corey and I started doing that, I mean, that was 20 years ago. But when anyone would still call me James after I had already introduced myself as Corey to them, I would just get really mad and I'd take it really personal for no reason. And it didn't serve me in any way to get upset about it. It didn't change the fact that those people were still going to call me what they felt to call me. And sometimes it's like, it was an identity, it was an identity thing that I was kind of going through there for a moment. But it wasn't serving me to like hang so tightly onto the grip of, this is the way I demand. Like you can't demand people to do stuff, and expect them to willingly do it. Like if they respect you, yeah, that'll happen. If you're a respectable person, it's more likely, but not guaranteed. Anybody who's guaranteeing you anything is more full of shit than a Christmas turkey.
Yeah, I have to say I completely am on board with what you just said there. So I think that it's a lot of people, and this is what I'll leave people with. This will be my final message to the people. One thing that I do, and I pride myself in being able to do it so well, is that when I don't understand why somebody's like let's say that I don't like somebody for whatever reason it is, I take a look at why don't I like them, and if it's something that's not worth my time focusing on, I feel like it lets me separate that thing that I don't like about that person and actually lets me like that person a little more, maybe even earing on the side of I like you. So try to just detach those things that annoy you, those annoyances or those things that make you angry. And then I feel like that's actually changed me, and I think it might change more people to actually want to engage with people they don't like more often in a better way.
Separate the art from the artist.
Yep.
And, I mean, I've said that for a long time. When it comes to like Louis, like I was first in line to stand up for Louis and be able to separate art from the artist. But it's like he's got a kink. That's what his kink is, and everyone's shaming him. And it's like I had somebody on the show like early on who has like millions of subscribers on YouTube, and he was like, "Oh, my dad was totally right about that Louis guy. What a creep! What a weirdo!" And I was like, "I wouldn't say that at all. I was like, dude, the guy never promised you that he was a saint. Just because he's into this weird thing doesn't mean we're gonna shame him for being into this thing that we find weird, because like he could be into way more weirder things and isn't."
Yeah, for sure.
Did you see this special when he was like, "Yeah, now everybody knows my thing. Obama knows my thing."
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Well, when I had that conversation with the guy, then he never. I think that was the biggest disagreement I ever had on the podcast. And then he never shared the episode, and nobody listens to it.
Yeah. I recently have had a couple podcasts that we didn't even disagree on the podcast, but I think it was just things after the podcast, and then it just didn't get the love it deserved. But
dude, it's tough because like the big ask is to ask you to spend the currency of effort on hanging with me and having the conversation with me, and your time is huge. So for me to go, okay, now that you've given me all your time, now make sure please to share it, and like people who are doing me a favor by doing my show don't. It's like that's too big of another ask. Like, oh, you've already gotten this much of my time, and then maybe 9 more people would have heard it if you would have shared it.
Right. Yeah. And those 9 people mean everything, especially when you're small.
Yeah. Small potatoes.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, do you do any impressions?
I used to do an Australian accent that I don't do anymore.
Okay. Well, the way we wrap up the full wrap up is I'll ask the guest to do their best impression and say the closing words that we use for the show are: be fun, have safe, keep evolving.
Be fun,
your best,
keep evolving. That's the in my best impression.
In your best impression, yes.
Okay. Does it have to be impression of a person, or can I do a shitty Australian accent?
Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, okay. Crocker, mate, be fun, have safe, and what was the last part?
Keep evolving.
And keep evolving. And get out there and gators, mate.
I want to say, dude, now that we're friends, my phone's always on. You ever going through anything, feel like you need a friend or anything like that, don't hesitate to call me. I'll definitely hold space for you. We got to do this again. Want to make sure if this is your first time checking out Evolving with Corey Castle, or your jump over from You Are the Host pod.
Yeah,
dude, just hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. comment below. Just so that I know you exist. There's like if it feels like sometimes podcast listeners are like lurking in the comment, like they're just, oh, I just want to read what the comments say or whatever. Leave a comment, dude. That's fine. And that same thing goes for anybody listening. Like if you want to talk to me, if you have any questions for me, I'm always here, dude. I'm not a hard person to get a hold of. I'm Corey Castle on everything, on all the streaming or all the social medias, and subscribe to the YouTube. And make sure you forgive more often than you're than you're holding on to old shit. We waste too many right nows on right nows we'll never get back. Be kinder to yourself. Be kinder to your friends. Forgive. Love. Be fun. Have safe. Keep evolving.